So we're sitting in Srila Gurudev's transcendental room here in Sri Jai Sri Damodar Gaudiya Math. This is the actual place of Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaja's final pastimes while he was here on this planet. And for approximately 1 month, he stayed here in this room. This is his bed here. And every day he would be attended by at least 3 devotees would be sitting at his bedside and assisting him. This went on throughout his final months, first beginning in Delhi in the month of September and continuing in Govardhan in the month of October during Kartik month, and then after Kartik in the month of December, October, November, then in December, late November, Srila Gurudev came here to Jagannath Puri. So he was brought here mainly because Sripad Padmanabha Maharaja was telling Srila Gurudev that the climate would be much warmer here because in Govardhan it would be quite cold, which it was, and also in Navadvip it would be cold as well. So therefore they brought Srila Gurudev here to Jagannath Puri to try to give the best opportunity for his recovery. And it was very favorable for Srila Gurudev because every day the sun was out almost every day. There was a few days of rain during that final month, but most days the sky was blue and it was sunny, and temperature was also warm during the day. So as I already recounted, Srila Gurudev would walk from this room down the corridors and he would go to the verandas, and there he would sit and take the sun, the morning sun, for some minutes, and the ocean air like this. On the evening when, or rather on the early morning, when Srila Gurudev performed his disappearance pastime, when I came here into this room, it was just a little bit after 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was sitting just here, and Madhav Priya Prabhu was sitting on a chair where you see that chair is, and Srila Gurudev was lying here on his back, and Madhav Priya was chanting and singing very beautiful songs, very rasik songs from our songbook. He was singing alone. And there were only a few devotees here at that time. Maybe about 5 devotees were sitting in the room. And this Prabhuji also was there. He was one of Srila Gurudev's servants during that time. So when Srila Gurudev performed this pastime, then devotees gradually came into the room and they sat, and then it became apparent that Srila Gurudev had departed this world. And devotees were sitting and softly chanting and crying. And then, because Srila Gurudev was going to be brought to Navadvip Dham for his samadhi, now very quickly Brajanath Prabhu, Madhav Maharaj, Vrinda Didi and all, they were packing in the room next to this one and getting ready for the journey to Navadvip Dham. And at that time, so many of the other devotees were also coming, because devotees were staying around the area in various hotels and rooms rented in the area. So gradually the word spread very, very quickly, and devotees all came here, and the room was very full of devotees. And now everyone began to consider how they were going to make their way to Navadvip. And most of the devotees actually rented taxis in groups. We also rented a taxi, and we went on that long journey. Actually, it took us about 18 hours to reach Navadvip Dham from here. But Srila Gurudev, the pastime was related to me, and some of the final pastimes were told to me by Madhav Priya Prabhu about a month later, when Srila Gurudev's Vyas Puja took place here in Jagannath Puri. I sat with him and asked him various questions, and I wanted to hear from him his experience of being with Srila Gurudev in those final months. So he was very pleased and very happy to relate his experiences to me, and I'm also hoping to interview him personally so that the devotees can hear directly from him. And also I'm making plans to interview Sripad Padmanabha Maharaja, Brajanath Prabhu, and others, Siddhanti Maharaj, because they spent literally, practically 24 hours a day with Gurudev in those final 4.5 months. So when I spoke with Madhava Priya Prabhu, he was telling me about Srila Gurudev and his transcendental condition of consciousness during those final months. And what he related to me was that just as we hear and read in the Srila Raghunath Das Goswami Pad's Vilapa Kushumanjali, how Raghunath Das Goswami was always, most of the time, in antardasha, state of consciousness, which means that he was fully unaware of the external environment, and he was absorbed in his internal spiritual body, his siddha-deha, as a maidservant of Srimati Radhika. And most of the prayers in Vilapa Kushumanjali are in that state of deep absorption. So in the same way, Srila Gurudev, most of the time, was in this antardasha state of consciousness. It was very interesting how Madhav Priya explained this pastime to me, because he gave me some examples how Srila Gurudev, how they could understand that he was internally performing various pastimes of internal service to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna in his internal swarup. And he gave an example that they would be sitting with Srila Gurudev, and he would say things sometimes. He would speak to them, but he would be telling them sometimes various words that they couldn't understand. And he gave one example that once Srila Gurudev was describing to them that I'm now cooking. I'm preparing food, I'm cooking. But I need one spice. And he mentioned the name of a spice. But none of the devotees had ever heard of this spice before. So he was asking them, can bring this spice to me because I'm cooking now. So in this way, they could understand that Srila Gurudev was so much absorbed in his internal seva. And this was going on night and day, day and night. Just like Srila Rupa Goswami has told in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Seva sadhaka rupena siddha rupena chatrahi. So in this way, the pure devotee, he is performing seva in the external sadhak rupa, by chanting, by hearing, by performing the 9 limbs of bhakti, etc. But siddha rupena chatrahi, he's also fully absorbed internally, simultaneously absorbed in his internal swarup, serving Radha and Krishna. So this was very apparent and very evident in Srila Gurudev in his final months especially. And Madhav Priya also told that when our Brajamandala Parikrama was going on, so Srila Gurudev, of course, this was the first time that Srila Gurudev was not present with us and in the temple room and giving lectures and so forth. But he related the fact that Srila Gurudev was actually performing his own parikrama. He was going on Brajamandala Parikrama during that month in his internal Swarup. But his Brajmandala Parikrama was not in the same order as ours was. So Srila Gurudeva would actually be telling, now today we are going to Radha Kund, today we are going to Varshana, and his parikrama would be different than the devotees were doing. Also once, Srila Gurudeva was telling that now we must go to Delhi. We must go to Delhi because I have to go to the dentist there. So, and then after there, then we will go abroad for preaching. So Brajanath should pack everything, now we are going. And the devotees would assure Gurudev, yes, yes, we are doing, because Gurudev was in his internal Swarup, saying like this. Then after some time, then Gurudev would say, oh, now we have been traveling too long in the car, it is uncomfortable for me, so we should stop for some time along the side of the road. And in this way, Srila Gurudeva was internally performing his pastimes of preaching, traveling, going preaching. And sometimes Srila Gurudeva would come into a stage of antar bahya dasha, which is in between internal and external consciousness. And then he would speak various things to the devotees in that state. They could understand that Srila Gurudeva was not fully internal and not fully external. And then from time to time, he would come into external consciousness. I had the experience when I first arrived in Puri that when Srila Gurudeva was going onto the veranda, for the first few days, I also went there and paid my Dandavat pranams to Srila Gurudeva. There was very few devotees that were allowed to be there at that time because Madhav Maharaj did not want that discussions would take place, that Srila Gurudeva would have to speak and use his energy like that. So, but when I arrived and I paid my dandavats to Srila Gurudeva, he acknowledged that I had arrived, that I had come. But on that particular morning, there was one devotee from China, mainland China. He was brahmachari, and he took the opportunity to request from Srila Gurudeva that Srila Gurudeva could give him sannyas. And so when he requested in this way from Srila Gurudeva, then Gurudev called me forward, and I came directly up to Srila Gurudeva, and then he said, does he know our Siddhanta? Has he read Jaiva Dharma? And then I said, I will ask him, Srila Gurudeva. So I asked him, and then the devotee was saying that he has read a Chinese version of the book. And then Brajanath Prabhu told me that this devotee had asked a couple of times before to Srila Gurudeva when Gurudev came to China and Hong Kong. And then he suggested that it is better if we should contact the senior devotees who are in mainland China and who know him well, and also the senior devotees like Vaishnava Maharaj, Nandan Prabhu in Hong Kong. So then I mentioned to Srila Gurudeva that I will contact those devotees and I will ask from them. Then Gurudev, okay. So then the next day, we also came onto the veranda, and Srila Gurudeva, he was aware and he remembered. And then because he also saw that devotee there. And then he asked me, so what have you received the reply? And I said, no, I haven't received a reply yet, Srila Gurudeva, from them. Okay. Then the third day, that devotee again asked Srila Gurudeva, in a quite kind of pathetic way. He was requesting, oh Srila Gurudeva, I know I'm not qualified, but by your mercy, I can become qualified. Then Gurudev called me forward, and he said, have you yet found from them? I said, no, they have not replied yet, Srila Gurudev. And then Gurudev told this was my final exchange with Srila Gurudeva personally. Then he told me, he said, if you recommend, then I will give him sannyas. So then that discussion finished. Srila Gurudeva was taken back to his room here. And then after that, Madhav Maharaj decided that he didn't want any other devotees to come onto the veranda, because then Srila Gurudeva would have to have some exchange with them. So it was pretty much banned that anyone should go there, except just his attendants, those who were serving him. So Madhav Priya was telling like this, that Srila Gurudev, he would sometimes, like during the time when we were in Govardhan, there was a period when Srila Gurudev was very deeply immersed in internal consciousness. But he didn't want anyone that they would be looking through a window or anything like that. He did not want anyone. So they had to have the curtains pulled 24 hours. And Srila Gurudev would notice also if there was any curtain that was not pulled, and he would indicate that it should be closed. So when we saw Srila Gurudev in Govardhan, they had arranged for a television screen, but at that time they were not informing Srila Gurudev that the camera was there, and that only a couple of times Madhav Maharaj informed Gurudev that the devotees are watching like that, because Gurudev did not want. And there was one evening, maybe more than one, I can't quite remember, but there was one evening when Srila Gurudev was in a very difficult to understand condition of awareness. And he called for Sripad Madhusudan Maharaj to be brought to his room. And this was in the middle of the night. So then when he came to his room, then Srila Gurudev wanted him to sit on the same bed with him. And he was also caressing him, and there was some exchange. Srila Gurudev told some things to him. I cannot relate what those things are because I haven't heard directly in detail. And Madhav Priya, I can't quite remember what he told me at that time. So whatever I can remember, I'm relating here. I also asked Madhava Priya Prabhu to describe the final, morning, what actually took place in that.